It's a brand new week and a brand new episode on the Granny Panty Podcast. I'm your host, RubyLynne. Before you go any further, make sure you hit that bell because you want to get notified every time we upload a brand new episode. If you would like to follow me, your host, you can go to RubyLynne.bio where it's all things Ruby. This week's guest is really what I coin a alt porn pioneer. Not only was she the creator of BurningAngel.com, she really set the tone and got the alt porn tattooed look in the forefront, got it noticed. So I'm excited to meet her for the first time virtually. I want to hear her story and just how everything evolved and what projects she's got going today. So help me welcome the iconic Joanna Angel. Joanna, welcome to the show this week. I am so excited to have you on and getting to meet you for the first time virtually. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. It is good to officially meet you. I've heard a lot about you.
I hope it was all good.
And we've got a friend. We've got Sailor here.
Oh,
There he
hello,
is.
Sailor.
Yeah. Yep.
Nothing better than puppy kisses.
Exactly. So he might, if you have any questions for him,
Okay. Well, I love your work. I have
Thank
followed you for
you.
quite a while, and recently, my husband and I watched a documentary about kind of the alt porn um, industry and like the people who really were the founders of it. And of course, you were there. You were in
Was
the
was I
documentary.
in the documentary? What documentary was this?
I was trying to remember the name of it, and I actually Googled it, Googled trying to find it. But yeah, I think it's on Amazon. I will find it and message it to you. But it had like
Yeah.
you and Bonnie
Was it like,
Rotten and
okay. Was there
all,
like footage of me in it? I'm like, I don't know if I
yes.
remember that.
Oh,
Okay, who
yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Sometimes I used to do so much stuff. I don't
I
remember what
think
I
it
did.
wasn't new. I think it was a few
Right.
years old,
You're right,
but
right. And maybe it was something where just some random interviews I did and I didn't know where they were going. Wound up somewhere. That's
exactly,
cool. I'll check it
exactly.
out. Good to know.
Yeah, but I just found, it's so interesting how you got started and since you are over 40 and in the mature
Yeah.
category now,
Isn't that ridiculous?
I wanted to have you on and cuz one of the funny things I thought about is I'm a tattooed grandma and I
Yeah.
got a tattoo my first tattoo when I was 18 in 1985 when it was not proper for
Right.
ladies to
Yeah.
have a tattoo. And in fact, my dad didn't speak to me for 2 months.
Oh my God.
And so I just thought that was funny, the correlation of how tattoos are portrayed, now. Like it's so normal, I
It's
guess.
weird to not have a
Normalized.
tattoo now. But yeah, I got my first tattoo when I was 18. And that was like a thing. It was like, oh,
Yeah,
as soon as you turn 18. And yeah, I hit it. It was actually this one, which is so crazy. It's held up. I've never even gotten touched
that
up,
is
which is,
nice.
so
I've
yeah, I got
had
it when I
mine
was
since covered
18.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, right when I turned 18. Yeah, and I remember like for like a solid like and then
Mhm.
I got my back done. I got my back
Uh-huh.
done like short, like a year later or something, or like a pretty big piece on my back.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember for a good, I don't know, 2 years or something. Every time I was around my parents, I would have shirts that like went just up to
Yes.
here, and I was always like so careful, like I didn't want them to see it. And like
Mhm.
when we would go on these like beach trips, I would just be like, oh, I'm not gonna go in the water. I'm just gonna keep
Ah,
my shirt on. I don't know. And then, at some point, yeah.
time changes everything.
Yeah. And what's funny is my mom, she like panicked, she freaked out, she cried. And like looking back on it now, I feel bad because like I didn't really like I used my parents' money, like my dad gave me this like Oh, it's really funny thinking about it now. My dad gave me this like emergency credit card, when I was
Mhm.
in college to literally use like in case of emergencies or maybe like, buy food or like, whatever,
Right.
textbooks. And I used it to get a tattoo, and like thinking of it now, like that's pretty fucked up, like how did I do that? That's so fucked up that I did that. My dad's giving me, his hard-earned money. Like now you think of it from their point of view, and I use it on
Right.
tattoos. Um, and
Well,
my second one, the one I got on my back, because like this one, I remember,
mhm.
even still, that was a lot of money for me at the time. It was, I don't know,
Yeah.
probably $300, $400. I mean, that was,
Mhm.
a hell of a lot of money for a college kid. Um, and then the back piece I got was big. I mean, I feel like
Mhm.
I don't remember. I think I spent, I don't even know what I spent.
A lot.
A lot, especially for a college kid. And I got that. This is crazy thinking about it now. And I wonder how often this happens. I remember I was coming out of class. Sorry if I'm digressing. It's a funny story, I
No,
promise.
I love it. This is what I love about my show is we can just, we let our
Yeah.
ADHD just shine.
Yes. I was coming out of class. I'll never forget it. I was coming out of class. I went to Rutgers University. This was
Yeah.
what year? 2000, not even 2000. It was like 1999, I think.
Okay.
90, probably 98 or 99. Yeah, because I remember it was definitely before 2000. Yeah, I turned 18 I was born in 1980, so 98. Yeah.
1998. That's what I read.
Yeah, exactly. 1998 or 99, because I had this tattoo already. And then I wanted to get another one, but I was like, okay,
Mhm.
my dad's going to like kill me. It's going to be too obvious. And I had to like lie and say it was, I don't even know. I said it was food. I don't even remember what I said it was. But yeah, I came out of class and it was like in the, whatever, the courtyard.
Mhm.
And I'm just
Mhm.
like walking back to my dorm. And this person in the middle of the courtyard is like, "Hey, would you like a Rutgers credit card?" And I was like,
Oh.
"Yeah, I would love a Rutgers credit card." I remember it had a picture of the school on it. I
I
never had a
bet.
credit card before. I didn't
Mhm.
know. I was like, "Okay, how much can I spend on it?" And they were like $1,000. And I was like, perfect. That is
Yep.
just enough money for the tattoo that I want and I can't afford. And I maxed it out and got a tattoo. And I was like, I don't have to put my dad's name on it.
Right?
And I didn't understand. I didn't know anything. I really didn't know. I was an idiot. Um, I didn't listen when anyone told me. I'm like, well, what's the worst? Like, they send you a letter and say you have to pay. Like, what's the worst
Right.
if like, and also at that time, like, I lived in this dorm where the mail went. I didn't even know how to like. Did I ever? I did. I don't know. I was like, what's the worst that happens? Like,
Right.
I'm just not going to pay it. And that ruined my credit for so
Ah,
long. Yeah, like for years later and years later when I was trying to get an apartment, it kept haunting me. And my dad, it was like a year and a half later, and then like credit notices were sent to the house. And my dad was like, "What the fuck did you
ah.
do?" I was like, "Oh, I got this credit card and I thought it was free money. I
Well,
guess it wasn't."
so
Yeah.
many college kids do get, into trouble, right off the bat by credit cards.
What a terrible idea. And
I
like,
know.
it had a picture of the school on it. So you're like, oh no, this is like a good
Yeah.
thing. This is,
Yeah.
wow. And they did not give me any information, not like, oh, this is your first credit. Like, it's so
Right.
funny to think about it now. And I was like, yeah, tattoo. Anyway, that's the
But
story of my first two tattoos.
and, going down that rabbit hole, they don't in school teach kids about money, which I think is crazy. I hope that
I
maybe it's better
knew
now.
nothing. It is crazy how little college
Yeah.
like prepares you for
Right.
real life, and
Absolutely.
yeah, like they don't teach you anything,
Mm-mm.
you know
Mm-mm. Nope.
um no, but yeah.
So you went to Rutgers. I did
Went to
read
Rutgers
that.
once upon a
Very
time,
impressive.
yes.
Very
2000,
impressive.
2002, yeah.
You Yeah. And then
No,
you,
1998 till 2002. Oof.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
1998
how
to
did
2002.
you transition into the adult industry, or what was your first, I know that
Once upon a time.
you
Yeah.
started Burning Angel in 2002, so that had to
Yeah.
be right towards the end of your college
Yeah, it
career.
was at the end of my college career. And it's I mean, it doesn't even feel real for me to say this anymore. Like it's insane. And when I feel like a grandma when I talk to
Mhm,
people about it. Like when I talk to the younger generation about this, I'm like,
mhm.
I don't make any sense. I sound like somebody talking about how they like rode like a horse and buggy to go to school. Like nothing I'm saying
Right.
makes any sense because
10 miles uphill to school.
yeah. Like picture the world. There was
Mhm.
no social media at all. This was
Right.
before any social media.
Yep.
Like you didn't really know about anything going on
Right.
unless it was like in front of your face. You know what I mean? There was
Or
like
in the
real
newspaper.
in the newspaper, yeah, or on the news. And like,
Mhm.
it was very common that there was no smartphones.
Right.
um I mean, I didn't even have, I used the school like computer when I had to type
Mhm.
papers. And then, like, I lived in a house with a whole bunch of people, and like one guy in the house had a computer. I
Right.
mean, and like we would all take turns, like, oh, 15 minutes, like, I mean, this is such a different time.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I was in my like, I called it the bonus round of
Mhm.
college.
Mhm.
Because I was like, I think I was on my fifth year and I still had like
Mhm.
credits that I needed to do.
Right.
So I was like a senior plus. So I was taking a few classes just to finish my degree. And I was just getting to that point. Like I said, I was so not
Mhm.
prepared for the world. And my dad was like, okay, like Joanna, like, you're getting out of college soon. Like I can't like,
Right.
you're gonna have to do something. Like he kind of like took care of me when I was in school, and I'll
Mhm.
always appreciate that.
That's cool.
Um, and he was, starting to
He's
wean
like,
me
"What's
off.
the plan, huh?"
Yeah, he's like, yeah. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no
Mhm.
plan. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a different, ideas every day. I was in the like punk rock scene. That was my whole
Mhm.
life. That was my social circle, from high school, middle school, up until really today. Is my whole, but at the time, punk rock was this very like tight knit scene, and it was very like the ethos was very DIY, like do things yourself.
Mhm.
So I had a lot of friends that were very like, they had their own record labels, like it was just very common. They would, I'd be at a
Cool.
friend's house on a Saturday night and they'd be like printing like t-shirts and like
Wow.
putting them in envelopes and mailing that, so it's almost like I was around a bunch of people that were like mini
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, and it was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how
Mhm.
much you know about the punk rock music scene, but New Brunswick,
Not
New
much.
Jersey, where Rutgers is, like it was sort of the hub. Like a lot of
Okay.
bands started out of there, bands, with members of it that I went to college with, that I was in
Mhm.
classes with, and I would see them like have start with like a
That's
small
cool.
idea, and 2 years later
Mhm.
they were playing at Madison Square Garden and stuff. So
Wow.
there was, it really was kind of like a place where a lot of like cool ideas
Mhm.
were happening, and I saw things go from inception to fruition.
Mhm.
But being in the punk scene, I felt like I was always, it was very male dominated,
Mhm.
and it was very like I was always like the cheerleader for all of the bands. I loved everything they
Ooh,
said. I
I
love
think I
everything they
lost you.
stood for. I was always there at their shows. I was always like supporting everything that these people did. Um and it was kind of like I wanted my own thing. I wasn't
Yeah.
really sure what the thing was. I do remember, like, I really tried. I like wanted to be like a musician, and I would
Uh-huh.
try, but it's like I was like forcing it just because you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I just, I tried. I took guitar lessons and stuff like that, and it's just like it wasn't like something I,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and I don't know. I was starting to kind of, just want to express myself. I don't
Mhm.
really know. I mean, this is so long ago. It was such a different time. And
Right.
my roommate at the time, he was a good friend of mine. I mean, still he's like my best friend. He's like practically my brother at this point. I'd say, you know, like, but we were good friends. We were roommates. We were not dating or
Mhm.
anything. And he, you know, like most college guys, I mean, he was a porn fan. And
Yeah.
he came up with the idea. I don't. He said we should start a porn site. I will say, I was like, I don't know what was going on with me. Like, you
Mhm.
know, I wasn't, you know, this was a time people didn't really talk about sex,
Right.
especially in the punk rock scene. You know, it was like this weird time. And I grew up pretty religious, so you know, I didn't grow up
Mhm.
in a household where we talked about sex, and I was the oldest, so it's kind
Okay.
of like I didn't have a cool older brother or sister to like tell me
Right.
anything. You know, like like, we didn't have the internet. I was a late bloomer, you know, so I didn't lose my
Mhm.
virginity till I was, I think I was 19 actually when I lost my
Mhm.
virginity. um I don't know. And it's like I was kind of like just trying to find myself, I
Mhm.
guess. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know. And I remember I was an English major, and I had this, I would write with a creative writing concentration, you know, like
Mhm.
so I took a lot of writing classes, and I kept writing all these like sex stories. You know, and I would come home and like read them to my roommate, which is so crazy and weird to think about now, but I think it was just the way that I could express myself.
Sure.
Um and yeah, I don't know. And then I actually wound up getting this like internship, because you could do an internship while you were in college. Sorry if this
Mhm.
is like such a boring story.
No,
Um,
it's not. I
I got an
love it.
internship for this like very sex positive magazine,
Okay.
that was also like one of the first dating websites, I guess, you know, very early
Wow.
on. It was called nerve.com. It was a really cool, and they did a lot of like very high end like photography books, and I don't
Nice.
know, it was like this New York City like sophisticated, I don't know, sex culture that I just, you know, it's like the punk rock scene. I didn't have anybody to
Yeah.
really talk about sex, and I, you know, I was getting my heart broken by these band dudes, and
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and it's like it was hard for me because this was like a scene that I really cared
Mhm.
about, you know, and
Mhm.
I don't know. And then I wouldn't want to feel like alienated from the scene just because like I had I don't know, a breakup. And I don't know, I was just kind of had this like anger inside me, and I was just
Mhm.
looking for a place to scream. And I don't know, my roommate who was my friend, he's like, well, you seem to like, you know, write about sex and stuff,
Yeah.
like why don't you like help with this, like let's start a porn site. And it kind of started as like a joke. I'd never watched a porn. I knew nothing
Yeah.
about porn ever. Like I didn't know anything about it. That there was no way, like I didn't know anything about the industry at all.
Mhm. Mhm.
um all I really knew about porn was that Janine was a porn star because she was on the cover of a Blink 182 album. And I just remember somebody, I remember when that first came out, I was like, wow, that girl is like so beautiful. Someone's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's Janine. She's a porn star. And I was like, what's a porn? Like, I didn't even get it. You know, I was like,
Right.
oh, it's like a person who's in a lot of porn movies. I didn't even know there were porn stars. So all I knew was, you know, that Janine was a porn star. That's about the extent of what I knew about pornography.
I love
Um,
that. You know what
and
though? I think that's
yeah,
good
that was
because you
the
didn't have any
beginning.
preconceived notions, you know? You came into it as a
No.
clean slate. I think that that's
Yeah.
unique.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
unique.
And that was the very early inception, and that's how Burning Angel was born. The tattoo I still have on my back was an angel and a devil, and that's kind of where we got the name from. Yeah, and then this idea, we made it happen, and it wound up
Uh-huh.
launching. It launched on April 20th, 2002.
Mhm.
And life has never really been the same since. Had no idea.
But you know,
um
your English major and your writing though, as a director, I mean, and producer,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Years later,
perfect.
it turned into that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The company sort of grew and morphed and became different things as I was growing. You know, the company
Uh-huh.
kind of grew up with me. But yeah, it was at first it was just photos,
Mhm.
um, which is really crazy to think about. That like there was a handful of photos on this website, updated like once a month. I'm not joking. We updated the website once a month with
Wow.
photos, and people paid for it. You know, like
That
that's
is amazing.
crazy. And they took so long to load. And
Oh, yeah, because it was probably on dial-up.
it was. Yeah. I remember we charged $10 a month, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, it wasn't like we were, rolling in cash or anything, but people
Right.
were buying it. And we were not doing and our advertising, we would go to shows and hand out
Right.
flyers. Some people have some of those early flyers. I still have one in like a memory box. We would hand out flyers. I mean, we promoted it like a band. And I don't know, this is so long ago. It really shook up the
Yeah.
punk rock scene. It really divided everyone.
Oh.
Uh, and honestly, I was just topless. That was it. There was a couple
Mhm.
pictures of me topless, and it was like such a big deal, and everybody was talking about it in school. And the punk scene was this very like community where there was a lot of
Mhm.
zines and
Right.
little publications where people like to write about feminism and punk and this and that, and everybody kept like, look, and to me this felt like world news, even though
Mhm.
it was just everybody was talking about it in my circle. And I had never been that person before. I was always kind of
Yeah.
on the sidelines, I was never the talk of the town. um so to me it felt this may as well have been on the headlines of a
Mhm.
newspaper, but people were fighting about it on the one like punk rock message board I used to go on, like, is
You're
porn
like,
punk,
"What?"
is porn feminist, is this right, is this
Mhm.
wrong, like, oh, it's not fair, like it's not punk because she's profiting off it. I'm like, profiting? Who would,
Right.
and I'm like, but what about the bands? I don't know, whatever, it just became this
Mhm.
thing and people took sides, and then I had to tell my family because whatever, and so at that point it was kind of like, oh my god, my whole life just flipped upside down and changed, and I
Right.
lost friends, and I became, and all I did was have naked pictures, not even
Right.
naked pictures. So I, at a certain point, I was like, okay, we may as well like go all the way, like I need to actually do
I bet.
porn. Like I'm suffering from all the stigma of porn, but
Right.
I'm not even, anyways, this is the
You're not
we're
even making
talking like,
videos yet.
yeah, we're talking like 2003 here. And then at
Yeah.
some point, things started, kind of steamrolling.
Mhm.
So funny. So yeah, Burning Angel, we didn't really. Sorry, my septum ring. So punk. Um, I remember I was still I became a stripper at some point because I
Mhm.
graduated from college and I
Mhm.
really wanted to work on the website. I was, very passionate about it. We had band interviews on there. It was like
That's
this,
awesome.
it was like this cool little, I don't know. I would like travel the country or really like the East Coast and like try to get
Uh-huh.
these like band interviews on a tape recorder, and I would put them on the website, and I put some of my silly erotic poems from class on there, and like,
That
I
is
don't know.
amazing.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about it then. And, and then we do these photo shoots. And then, yeah, but, so I really was focusing a lot on the website and just kind
Right.
of waking up every day and being like, all right, what should we do? Just kind of doing whatever could be done.
Mhm.
Um, and but yeah, and then one of the girls that we did a photo shoot of, she was a stripper,
Okay.
and she was telling me about it, and I was like, oh wow, that sounds great, because I could have the freedom to work on the website.
And you
And
probably needed the
and yeah,
money.
and I needed the money because the website wasn't really generating much income, and
Right?
whatever we made had to go back into it. So so then I became a stripper. So it's really funny. It's like I became a stripper to support my struggling porn site. Like I, like back in the day. So all the early stuff, was paid for with stripper money, and it was like a great time to strip. So while I was a
Yeah.
stripper, just I'm like, oh, I'm still at 2003, so we can skip forward later. But while I was a stripper, somebody came in, like a customer,
Right.
and he was getting like lap dances, and I was talking to him, and I was like, oh, what do you do? And he was like, oh, and he was this like handsome, really cleaned up guy in a suit, like a,
Yeah.
and I was like, what do you do? And he's like, oh, like I work at Vivid Video, like, and I was
Ah,
like,
yeah.
I didn't know there were like people who dressed up in suits and went to work in porn every day. I just had no
Right?
idea. And I was like, wait, what do you do? I actually don't remember exactly what he did. It was something in the
Yeah.
office with DVD, something, something. And then I was like, wow, I was like, that's crazy. I was like, well, I guess I'm kind of in porn. And then he was like, what do you mean? Because to him, coming from big LA porn,
Right.
like it just didn't make any sense. And he was like, what? And so I was telling him about Burning Angel, and he was like cracking up, kind of like, what? what? And he was
Oh.
like, this is like a real like industry, and
Mhm.
what are you doing with this? And then we wound up staying in touch. We became
That's
friends, and he
good.
would talk to me, and he was like, I checked out your website. Like, you're crazy. This is hilarious. Like, what is this? Like coming
Yeah.
from such a, like I don't get it. This is like your diary and a porn site. Anyway, he was like, you should really come to AVN.
Mhm.
And I think it would really, be good for you to like really see what this industry is. And I think that was in 2005. So he just got me a
Wow.
pass as like a, you know,
A
like
fan
a
pass. Yeah.
fan, yeah. And I
Yeah.
walked around, and that I remember, like on the plane ride home, I was like, okay, I get it. I have a vision now.
That's cool.
I'm
That's
gonna make
cool.
movies. So it's almost like Burning Angel had a few different inceptions.
Yeah, that's, evolution. It evolved, with the
Yeah.
times and as you got deeper. Now, current day Burning Angel is
Well,
under the adult time, right?
oh yeah. Well, so I sold the company in
Mhm.
2019. Um,
Okay.
I can't remember now if it was 18 or 19. Crazy. Um,
Yeah.
that
What's a
that.
year though? One or
Mhm.
the other. And do you
Yeah.
still perform? Do you still do work for the site?
No, not anymore. I did. So as part of the sale, I had
Mhm.
like a 2-year contract to
Uh-huh.
still do stuff with the site, and I did stuff for the other adult time properties. And then at the end of those 2 years, I was kind of like, you know what, I think it's time to like put this chapter behind me.
Yeah.
Like it was bittersweet. And I actually, if I could go back on it now, I probably should have just stopped when I sold the company. I thought
Yeah.
it would be a dream come true to get to work for the company and not have to worry about
Right.
putting up the money.
Right.
Like it felt like playing house, but like having a boss, and look, they were very like, they were not, they let me do what I wanted
Yeah.
when it came to Burning Angel. They knew, like, they're like, we don't even understand what the hell you did, so just keep doing it. Um but it was a weird thing to not have like 100% control
Sure.
over the marketing, or even making the release schedule, or even, I don't know, just like I was, I don't know, it was weird.
I
And
can
I would,
understand that.
yeah,
I
and I
can
wouldn't
understand that.
recommend anyone to do that. Like, if to
It's
anyone,
it's
if they
funny
sell their company, like, just walk away,
it's
move. It's
funny
like
you
a
say that.
breakup.
I know a CPA who has a very who had a very large firm here in Portland, who retired, sold the company, but he was going to retain an office there just to kind of see clients. Same kind of deal. He's
Yeah.
like, I, you know, he doesn't have a say in anything anymore. Now and he
Yeah. And
this
they
is not
said, like,
working out.
as part of the deal, they were like, oh, we need to have you on to like consult. And like, they didn't ever consult me about anything. They just did whatever they wanted without asking me. Mm.
It's hard. It's
It felt
hard.
like like I, like, like I don't know, like I put up a kid for
I
adoption
was
or
just
something,
gonna say that.
but then,
I
but
was
then
just
like,
gonna say it.
but then was there every day. So the kid couldn't really bond with its new mom, or like, you
Right,
know what I
right.
mean? It's like I took my kid and dropped it off at college, and like, yeah, and then like just sat there every day. It's
That is
like
the exact
yeah.
analogy that went into my head.
Yeah. Yeah, and then COVID happened, and it really gave me a
Yeah.
chance to like really think about everything.
Mhm.
So I said goodbye to that chapter in my life. I did wonderful things.
You
And,
sure
in
did.
those 2 years, I got to direct for all the other adult time
Mhm.
properties. I made some great movies for them and stuff like that. Yeah, I did direct for, about 20 years. What I made my first movie in 2002.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and I had done, and look, I never say never. Sometimes people are like, "You ever gonna come back?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know," but
Yeah.
look, when you're directing, you have to think about, like, you are the last
Right.
priority. You have to think about everybody else. So
Right. Right.
it's nice to just think about myself.
I
It's a
love
lot of
that.
people to look after, a lot of things
Mhm.
to be responsible for, and I really felt like when I ended that, I was like, I think I have really followed through with any idea I have ever had to make a movie ever.
Yeah.
So I felt like, creatively kind of fulfilled.
You
uh,
have made an impact on the industry and bringing, that kind of alt um look and all that. I mean, the documentary I watched, it was amazing. Like Burning Angel was the
It's so
original. So,
crazy thinking of it now, 'cause I didn't even have a
you're
lot of
a
tattoos.
pioneer.
I had, like, 2 tattoos, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like yeah, and I remember that, like, the first year I actually went to AVN as, like, a person. So that first year I went to AVN kind of as, like, an observer and a fan,
Right.
and then the next year I actually went as, like, a a
A
star and a
talent.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had gotten a directing deal with Hustler
That's
Video,
amazing. That's
um,
cool.
Hustler, and it was VCA at the time. Um, and I was there, and I'm not joking. It was like so weird. Like everywhere I went, I remember everybody was stopping me, and they were like, "So tell me, like, how did you discover that like tattoos were sexy? Like, how did you figure it out? Like, okay, so tell me, what is the deal with like tattoos? Like as if
Oh
there's a
my
certain
gosh.
way like tattooed people have sex, because I felt like everybody in porn was trying to like cash in. You know, when there's something that makes money in
Yeah.
porn, everybody smells it. And like, this was my like first like breakout year, I guess.
Right.
Even
Right.
though I had been
Right.
around for a while, this was my first, and there was like big images of me everywhere, and people are like asking me questions as if like
Mhm.
tattoos. I'm like, well, everybody with tattoos are different. I don't know. People are
Oh
acting
god.
like, and it feels so crazy to think about now, because it's like,
Right.
oh wow, you discovered that tattooed people were hot, and it was kind of like, well, that should have been really like obvious. Like it's so weird,
Right. Right.
And sometimes I
Right.
feel bad taking like the credit for that, because it's like saying it now, it sounds ridiculous, and I don't want to seem like like
Right.
it seems ridiculous to be like, oh my god, you like put tattooed people on the map, like they should have been on the map already. And it's like
I
um
know.
and
Yeah, but
and as time went on, like I think it was more important to give credit and shed light on the on the people that broke waves for the trans woman and the BBWs and
right.
like other body types, which I think that was like the next wave. So I never wanted to seem like tattooed people were like discriminated against the same way that a lot of the other
Right.
genres were discriminated against. So I
Right.
kind of like, yeah, I'm like,
But
okay.
still,
But
they
yeah,
were discriminated
yeah,
against. But
I
yes,
mean, people did not get it. They just didn't get it. I don't
you're
know.
a
It was so
porn
weird.
pioneer.
I felt like I
Porn
was sitting
pioneer.
on these panels, like trying to explain to people what was hot and marketable about tattoos.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. You just market the same way you do everything else. The people
Right.
just have tattoos. Like I don't. It just seems so like crazy. But
Yeah.
I came from the East Coast and the punk rock scene where everybody had some tattoos. And to be honest, in the beginning, we weren't
Mhm.
even tattooed porn. We kind of just ran
Yeah.
with that later. It was more like
Right.
punk porn, but that
Right.
didn't really make sense to everyone else. So tattoos just sort of became this like identifying thing
Mhm.
that people had that made them different,
An
if that makes
identity.
any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I
For
don't know.
sure.
Anyway, it was interesting. It was fun. It was exciting, and as time went on, I really
Mhm.
loved being a director. I
Mhm.
really loved creating. I really just like at the beginning, like just having tattoos was enough to be exciting, and then when
Yeah.
tattoos were became more mainstream, I'm like, okay, I want a style and
Right.
a real like look and feel and
Mhm.
style to my movies that separates us, not just people with tattoos.
Right. 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 So what projects are you working on now?
So, COVID happened, and look, and this was just so, speaking as an older person,
Mhm.
um, I was very much like, okay, like, I own this company. I sold the company.
Mhm.
And then after I sold the company, I was directing at adult time, and then
Mhm.
it was also I like for the first time, and born at the age of, I don't know, 38 or however old I was, 39. I got an agent, and I worked for all the studios that I didn't work for,
Mhm.
because I was exclusive to myself most of my career. So,
Sure.
I worked for all the company, like Brazzers
Mhm.
and Naughty America and Evil Angel and all the companies I always like, wanted to be part of, but I never was because I was,
Uh-huh.
my brand was just, me being over there. So it's
Mhm.
almost like I felt like I graduated and then I made like a bonus lap
I
around the
love it.
block, and then I was kind of like, well, I mean, it's been a good run. I don't really
Mhm.
know what else there is to do here, like I was kind of like, not really sure what was going to
Mhm.
happen. I kind of just thought my days were winding down. I was like, oh, maybe I'll take some money and invest in some properties, or I don't know. I was trying to think of like, okay,
Yeah.
this is like, how long is the phone going to really ring? Like I already did my
Mhm.
like, oh, Joanna Angel's available, and and then yeah, over COVID, like I had a lot of friends, because a lot of my friends were the older performers in the industry. So even before COVID, they were already on OnlyFans and Snapchat and stuff, and they would tell me
Gotcha.
about it. And I was
Mhm.
still directing, and I was like, they would be like, "Oh, you got to get on there," and I'm like, "That just doesn't sound like me." Like,
Mhm.
like shooting porn on a cell phone. I shot movies, like movies with
Right.
big scripts and big scenes, and I'm like, I don't know. That just sounds like something popular for like young people. It just doesn't sound like me, and like blah 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 blah. And I don't know. And then over COVID, I was like, you know what? I'll try this out, and I was not expecting to do
Mhm.
as well as I did, and it was really it also helped. I did most of my career up until that point with natural boobs.
Uh-huh.
um I had C, I had like perky C's, so like every time I even thought of getting my boobs done, like a surgeon would talk me out of it. And it happened
Mhm.
a few times, and I'm not even trying to brag, like literally a few surgeons said to me like, your boobs are too perfect and I don't want to
Right.
touch them. And I'm like, but I want them bigger. Anyway, so finally somebody, was like, all right, I guess I'll take your money, but you still don't need a boob job. I'm like, nobody, I'm like, I still want
Right.
bigger
No one
boobs.
has to have one, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's time, like I'm ready for my
Yeah.
next era of whatever. And I felt like I was living life as a big boob person, because I was always like squishing them, I wasn't a small boob person.
Yeah.
Also like you get older, and I was a fitness person and working out a lot. So my boobs would fluctuate all the time. And really, I was like,
Mhm.
I don't want to wake up and not know what size my boobs are. Um, which would happen. It'd be so different. It would go from an A to a D, and it'd be anywhere in between,
Yeah.
depending on like what I ate and what time of the month it was. Anyway, I got my boobs done, and then it was like I was actually planning on doing a boob like reveal
Uh-huh.
with brazzers. Actually, I was going to do my, a scene, my first like boob scene, and I got my boobs done in February of 2020.
Oh,
And
wow.
then yeah, and then then I had to take time off to heal. And then of course when the time came to reveal my boobs, the world had shut down, and I was
Everything
like,
was
well, that's
shut down.
anticlimactic. um and then yeah, so I did my boob reveal on OnlyFans, and I think it just kind of launched
That's
Joanna
amazing.
Angel 5.0 or whatever, and I was not expecting it. And then even over COVID, um I was like, okay, maybe when the world opens back up,
Mhm.
like this is gonna die
Right.
down, because this is like kind of crazy. And it's kept going.
That's
So,
amazing.
it's been really fun for me just to kind of shoot whatever I feel like, just
Mhm.
kind of do stuff, and I've still dabbled in like some higher end productions. Like
Yeah.
last year, sometimes on Halloween I filmed like a pretty big thing. If I feel like it, I'll still like
Yeah.
shoot something with like, some production value. But yeah, I shoot a lot of stuff on my phone. I feel like I've been able to develop this more like intimate
That's
relationship with
great.
my fans, and I have the freedom to do a lot of stuff. And that's why I was
Mhm.
like, well, I came to LA to, to make a name for myself and really
Mhm.
make Burning Angel a thing. And I did that, and now that I don't need to be here anymore, so then I decided to move back to New York. And now I don't even know what, I just live life as a New Yorker. I run marathons, I eat
That's
food, and
amazing.
like that's the beauty of OnlyFans. It can kind of do
Yes.
anything with you, you
Yes.
know like I go do a marathon, and I like, shoot a little video preparing for it. I like, like your fans, I try to
Yeah.
say that to people, like it's not good to just like sit at home and just like do, like you should like,
Right.
it should like live and breathe, and like, everybody just kind of gets to like live life with
Mhm.
you. So it's been really
That's
fun. I've,
awesome.
having fun doing wacky things on social media, and like I don't know, I feel like we're in uncharted territory now. Like For
Yeah.
so long in porn, I felt like I got to know the industry and all the different streams
Mhm.
of income and how to brand and how to, and I feel like once OnlyFans started, like it just, everything I learned went out the window,
Yeah.
and it's just so different,
It
and
is
I feel like
different.
I learn more every day, now from especially the younger generation. I mean, they're so smart and they know everything, and it's like it's just so different than when I was younger in
Yeah,
porn.
because they've not known anything besides, social
Yeah.
media and that kind of thing. So
Well, they
you have OnlyFans.
yeah, I have an OnlyFans.
I
Yeah.
definitely want you to shout that out. Are you on any clip sites or strictly just your OF?
Yeah, really. Oh, if I'm on Pornhub, if people want to
Mhm.
search me on Pornhub,
Yeah.
for a while I tried to diversify on other clip sites and stuff, but it's better. It seemed better to just direct the traffic to one
Yep.
place.
One
I
place.
don't want to try to do 20 things and half-ass them. Yeah,
Right.
so it's just OnlyFans.com/ Joanna Angel.
Cool.
I've got new content all the time, and yeah, and I still perform. I mean, people think I'm done. Like, I've always loved performing because I spent
Mhm.
so much of my career running a business. It's almost like I didn't get to spend enough time just having sex, you
Having
know?
fun. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
enjoying
So
it.
it's fun to just, and I just, and now, like, not having to organize a whole production, it's like, oh, like
Right.
we could just fuck, and have a good time.
That's
I did a
awesome.
scene just like 2 months ago. Flesh Mechanic and Cherie DeVille both came to New York, and we fucked in like a bar bathroom, and it was such a
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. And we walked out, everybody in the bar kind of like knew what was going on, and that was really
That
fun. So
is
it's like
so
that's
funny.
stuff you could not do, run and gun stuff like that, like doing
Right.
like studio production work. So
Mhm.
it's been really cool, and we're in uncharted territory right now. Like,
Oh.
I feel like even OnlyFans has changed a lot in the last few
Oh
years, and
gosh.
just it's
Yeah.
just like you can really kind of do anything. Like, it
Mhm.
used to be like try to climb the ranks of the porn industry, and now
Yeah.
it's just like the world, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I love that. You put in your work and you built your company and now you can kind of kick back and then enjoy your life and live it on your terms. I love that. Love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I
shout
never really
out.
relax, but.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I hear you.
What
I
what
mean,
about
and
you?
OnlyFans is still a lot of work. I mean, it's
OnlyFans is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. Yeah, it's just a different kind of work. You
yeah,
know, it's a different
right.
kind of work.
I,
Yeah,
that
it's a 24/7 thing.
Oh
Um,
yes, I know. It's it can
is
be
that your
stressful some days.
main thing?
Yeah, yeah. OnlyFans is my main thing for sure. I didn't get into
Uh,
porn until I was 54,
I know, that's
so
amazing. That is
I'm a little bit
incredible.
crazy.
Have you worked for studios and stuff, or just your OnlyFans?
So I have shot for studios. I started. I made my name in live webcam, and so
Okay.
that's how I originally got my following. And
I mean,
then
it's a great place to get a following. Yeah.
yeah, and then studio started reaching out to me, started getting nominated for awards, and then I really didn't jump on the OnlyFans bandwagon until 2022, I think I want to say. Yeah, like fall of 2022. I just
I mean,
kept putting it off and yeah,
right. But you were webcamming. And a lot of people
yeah.
don't realize, like, you need to have fans. Like, you
Yeah,
can't just
you've got to
make an
get them
OnlyFans.
somewhere.
There's no like welcome letter that goes out to all the members that's like,
That's
hi, we
right.
have a new person here. Everybody go
That's
sign up.
right.
Like, you have to have fans. So, where those fans are gonna come from, I'm so grateful. Like,
Yeah,
I'm so grateful that I have fans on my OnlyFans that have literally been my fans since day one, and it's
that
like
is
it's
amazing.
crazy. It's like we grew up together at this point. Like, it's
That's
crazy, and I'm
awesome.
so grateful. And like I've always been good to my fans. I remember with Burning
Mhm.
Angel, we were always very like we answered like every customer service email. We always really paid attention. We never were like giant like Bang Bros
Mhm.
or Brazzer. You know what I mean? Like, it was
Right.
always like our retention was very, we always had very loyal fans. And I
That's
think
cool.
that's how you succeed. You have to take care of your fans, and I've always been that way. I'm always just very grateful. I know a lot of girls, they get like management companies or something to run
Right.
their page, and they, and they don't really like, you got to pay attention to what your fans want, and you got to make them, I mean, that's running any business, like,
Oh, yeah.
you got to make your customer happy, and you got to put out a product that's good, and that's, it's
It
that
is
simple.
definitely customer service. So as we close out, Joanna, you want to shout out your social medias so people who
Yeah.
aren't following can? We definitely want to get them on
Yes,
that.
just at Joanna Angel. That's my Instagram. That means I'm old and I'm actually able to have my name. At Joanna Angel on Twitter. They're both verified accounts. Please do not talk to a
Yeah.
fake Joanna. I had an incident where a fan was, ripped off because they thought they
Mhm.
were giving me money because I was stuck somewhere. I don't know. I'm never
Oh,
gonna DM you and ask you for money unless it's
right.
like on my OnlyFans where you're paying for, content. Like, I'm never
Right.
gonna ask you to Venmo me, Cash App, whatever. Like, I only accept money through the OnlyFans platform, or products, like
There
whatever.
you
By
have
my
it.
fleshlight, if you want to give me money, you give it to
Do
me
it
through
through.
OnlyFans. Don't Venmo a random person that's
Yeah,
named Joanna Angel 1 2 3 4. Yes, just Joanna Angel on Instagram, Joanna Angel on Twitter, Joanna Angel X on TikTok.
perfect.
OnlyFans.com/, Joanna Angel. I update every single day. I do live shows.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm right now. I don't know where you're gonna. I'm fundraising for the marathon. I actually doesn't. I only have a couple weeks left.
Okay,
So I fundraise for. I run for breast cancer research. Yeah,
wonderful.
this is gonna be my third year running the New York City Marathon. I love
Wow,
doing it. And
very nice.
honestly, I think my years of doing porn really like trained me for it, because it really feels like the same kind of like physical endurance.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you can't, if you shoot a scene and you are sore for 2 or 3 days, you know it was good scene, right?
Exactly. I know. I know. I know. Yeah, exactly.
So,
That's how you know. That's how you
well,
know.
thank you so much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
to chat with me. I love getting to know you, and um,
Yeah, how
I
amazing.
would
And at some point I want to hear more about your myriads of grandchildren, and how awesome. I love it.
my wild grandma life.
Wow. Yeah.